Good evening, you're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. His Excellency the Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs received St. George Peace Order of the German state of Saxony. A delegation from Syria's main opposition group fly to Geneva and the United Nations brokered peace talks to solve the Syrian crisis. Global health officials warned that Zika virus is spreading rapidly and could affect millions of people. Those were the headlines, and now for the news in detail. In recognition of the Sultanate's role in establishing principles of international peace and security, His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah, the Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs, has received the St. George Peace Order of the German state of Saxony. The award was granted to His Excellency the Minister in recognition of his diplomatic and political efforts in assisting and solving crisis in the Arab region. It was a message of thanks from the Opera House in Dresden City to the Sultanate of Oman for being a significant factor for peace and stability and a place for dialogue to achieve global peace. Prior to handing over the order, His Excellency the Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs met the Prime Minister of Saxony, who praised the Sultanate and distinguished relations binding the Sultanate and Germany. Aimed the attendance of a number of outstanding political, social and scientific personalities, the St. George Order in Dresden, which is considered one of the most important awards in Germany, was handed over to His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah. Some attendees praised the important role being played by the Sultanate to establish peace in the region and the world. Representatives of Syria's largest mainstream opposition umbrella group were set to arrive in Geneva this evening, dispelling fears they would boycott UN-brokered talks aimed at ending the country's brutal civil war. The group was sending 17 negotiators and 25 others to the UN-mediated negotiations. The 17-strong team included the head of the Higher Negotiation Committee, which includes political and militant oppositions of the Syrian president in the country's 5-year civil war. The HNC has said it wants to discuss humanitarian issues, including a stop to Russian and Syrian governments' bombing, before engaging in the peace talks that started yesterday in Geneva. Yesterday, a 16-member delegation representing Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's regime held nearly 3 hours of preliminary talks with UN Special Envoy Staffan de Mistura. Today, the Doctors Without Borders charity said at least 16 more people have starved to death in the besieged town of Medea since an aid convoy entered earlier this month. It brings the number who have died of starvation there since December to 46. Several dozen more residents of the town are in danger of death because of severe malnutrition, the group has warned. Meanwhile, opposition militants advanced into Hama and Aleppo province in the northern Syrian after taking over a number of security barriers, according to the Syrian Observatory. The Yemeni army took over areas of Hijaz province and Taz after fierce battles targeted locations belonging to Houthi militants. Meanwhile, a suicide bombing killed 7 people and wounded 7 others last night in Aden, the second deadly attack in as many days in Yemen's second city. The bombing targeted a police checkpoint not far from Thursday's suicide attack that killed 8 people outside the presidential palace in the city. At least 33 people drowned and 75 others were rescued after a boat carrying migrants to Greece sank off Turkey's western coast. The Turkish Coast Guard was continuing search and rescue efforts where the boat sank off the coast of a town across from the Greek island of Lesbos. It was not immediately clear how many migrants had been on board. Officials said at least 5 of those who died were children, and rescued migrants were hospitalized with hypothermia. The Dogan news agency has said the migrants were of Syrian, Afghan and Myanmar origin. More than 1 million refugees and migrants arrived by land and sea in the European Union last year, and some 3,600 died or went missing. Turkey is the first stop on Syria's migrants' journey to the European Union. African leaders met today in a bid to end the armed crisis, including in troubled Burundi, with an unprecedented vote of deploying a 5,000-strong peacekeeping force, despite Burundi's vehement opposition. While the official theme of the African Union meeting is human rights, leaders are dealing with a string of problems across the continent during 2 days of talks at the organization's headquarters in the Ethiopian capital. Talks at the AU Peace and Security Council, attended by presidents and foreign ministers from across the 54-member bloc, stretched late into the night last night in an attempt to narrow positions before the formal summit opened today. Global health officials said the Zika virus, linked to severe birth defects in thousands of babies in Brazil, is spreading rapidly in the Americas and could infect 3 million to 4 million people. The race is on to develop a vaccine. The virus is transmitted to people through the bite of an insected female mosquito. It's the same type of mosquito that spreads dengue and yellow fever. The Pan America Health Organization said the mosquitoes are found in all countries in the Americas except Canada and continental Chile, and the virus will likely reach all countries and territories of the region where the mosquitoes are found. There is no treatment or vaccine available for the infection, and companies and scientists are racing to develop a safe and effective vaccine, but one is not expected to be ready for the months or years. The virus has been linked to a condition in newborn babies which is marked by abnormally small heads and brains that have not yet been developed properly. It also been associated with a rare disorder in which the body's immune system attacks parts of the nervous system. The European Space Agency says a new laser terminal has been launched into orbit as part of wider efforts to develop Europe's first optical communication network, a system able to monitor natural disasters and other catastrophes. The European Data Relay System terminal launched yesterday from Kazakhstan. It was released from its host satellite this morning. The stationary hub will collect information from surveillance satellites and relay it using an ultra-fast laser data connection to the ground. The agency and its partner, Airbus Defence and Space, say they will begin testing the system in the next few days and start delivering services to customers in the summer. A second date relay node is scheduled for the launch next year and a third in 2020. Still to come in our news bulletin. Al-Nagah's fifth forum was held in the Wilaya of Saham in the Governorate of North Batna. The Sultanate, represented by the Ministry of Heritage and Culture, participates in Cairo International Book Fair in its 47th round. The book fair edition this year, entitled Culture and the Confrontation, it is considered one of the important cultural activities on the Arab and international levels. 2 sections were allocated for the Sultanate to exhibit their publications and to sell the books. The Ministry of Heritage and Culture participates in Cairo International Book Fair with some of its publications that highlights the Sultanate's achievements in Arab, Islamic and human culture. The Ministry's publications were on the field of literature, language, history, medicine and astronomy. It is worth mentioning that the late Egyptian novelist Jamal al-Ghitani was selected as the iconic character of the book fair. 850 publishers from 34 countries participated in the book fair, and Bahrain was selected to be the guest of honor at the fair. Challenges facing the private sector and proposed solutions were topics discussed by the Economic Committee of Shura Council and the Oman Chamber of Commerce and Industry when meeting businessmen in the Governorate of South Batna. They discussed obstacles hindering the private sector from undertaking its role in pushing forward the economic movement in the Sultanate and supporting the national economy. The meeting revealed that the sector is expected to contribute with 21 billion Omani riyals to support the national economy in the Sultanate during the 9th five-year plan development. The meeting stressed the significance of partnership between the public and private sectors during the upcoming period in various economic challenges. The Sultanate's gross domestic product amounted to around 20.88 billion Omani riyals by the end of the third quarter of 2015. The statistics issued by the National Centre for Statistics and Information recorded a decrease by 14% compared to the same period in 2014. This was attributed to the noticeable difference in rates between oil and non-oil products. The Statistics Bulletin also pointed out that the decline in the domestic product of oil activities by 6 billion riyals during the third quarter between the 2014 and 2015 against an increase in liquefied natural gas activities by 20% during the same period. With the aim of preserving Omani heritage, instilling a group of values and Omani traditions on youth and encouraging voluntary work, Al-Magaz's 5th Forum was held in the Wilaya of Saham in the Governorate of North Batna. It witnessed the participation of more than 400 citizens. The forum included various sports, cultural and art activities like camel and horse races, shooting competitions and a marathon. It also included a small traditional village that features Omani life in the past and architects from palm fronds and animal skins. Omani traditional arts like Azi and other arts were presented in the forum. At the end of the forum, His Excellency Dr. Yahya bin Badr al-Mawali, the Undersecretary of Ministry of Social Development, handed over the prize to the participants. And now for the general weather forecast. Clear to partly cloudy skies will prevail over the Sultanate with chances of scattered rainfall in areas overlooking the Sea of Oman. The rest of the Sultanate will have clear skies. Winds will be north to northeasterly light to moderate, occasionally active. Seas will be rough along the Governorate of Musandam and the Sea of Oman with a maximum wave height of 3 meters, while it will be moderate along the rest of the coast with a maximum wave height of 2 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here in the studio and the newsroom, it's good night.